that's the thing about Porter, man. He takes the fight out of you. Like I said earlier in the fight, it's not just a physical thing, it's a mental thing too.
I remember back when I was only 10, driving into the city right past Big Ben. Nah, just joking. I remember when I was a kid, I worked in this warehouse, and a few of us played for a football team local to where we all worked. I remember one guy, a little older than us in the team, a white guy. He injured his leg and he couldn't go to work. Now, I don't know his insurance arrangements in his life, but he had a child and he had a woman in the house. And he was struggling with the bills. He was laid up for a couple of months. It was quite a bad injury. A knee injury. When he recovered, I had left the workplace by then. And I saw him and was speaking to him. And I said, yeah, you still playing football? He says, no. He stopped. Now, he was physically fit enough to continue playing, but he stopped playing. Because, here's the thing. When I play football in my school team, it might be a struggle to get back to school. Hop back in on crutches. I might be laid off and miss a few days, a few classes. But I will still have the roof over my head. Why? Because I don't pay bills when I'm a school kid. My dad pays them and my mum pays them. When I'm an adult, I have to start thinking about what sports I participate in now. Now, what I just said there just led up to a simpler explanation. If you don't want to break your leg, if you have a fear of breaking your leg, do not play football, soccer. Do not. Because it can happen. I've broke my leg playing football. Man, I dislocated my shoulder playing football. If you don't like getting injured, period, don't play football. Now, some of you across there probably think football is a bitch game, but no, there's a lot of injuries that you can accumulate playing football. A whole load. If you don't want to get injured across the pond, don't even play basketball because it can get quite physical. The jumping alone can put a lot of strain on the body. NFL, any of them things there. If you don't want to get headbutted like Andre Berto by a rampaging Shawn Porter, don't box. Or learn a technique that you can avoid it happening to you. You have a few choices. And I don't know if you've noticed, and maybe someone's going to come and tell me different. Andre Ward hasn't complained as much as some of you guys have complained. And he was in the ring. He accepts he lost. He knew what Porter was going to come with. He knows Shawn Porter from how long? You have a few choices. People are still coming on my Terrell Williams, Pritchard Colon video. Oh, Williams should be sent to jail. He'll never be sent to jail. Why are grown-up people who... I realize grown-ups don't have any sense. They didn't catch him with anything in his gloves. They didn't catch him taking any illegal substances. He's not going to be culpable. Why do you keep saying that? And it's loads of you saying the same thing. Loads of you. Not one of them has considered that, Pritchard Colon was an adult who made an adult decision to go in the boxing ring. Andre Berto got paid well to get head-butted in his head. And punched as well. People seem to be neglecting he got punched, head-butted. He just got roughed up and beaten up. That's just what happened to him. Unless Williams started rabbit punching Richard Colon incessantly when the referee's telling him stop and he kept doing it and the ref stop, then I can see a jail sentence. This is now assault. But surely there'd have to be a process of, okay, take points off, a DQ, and that's it. That's the most you could do, is DQ the guy. But this jail talk is just like bewildering. Like, the scorecard was still in the balance at the time of the stoppage. Were you saying Terrell Williams should be in jail while the fight was still in progress? No, you wasn't. You know when you started all the jail talk was when your feelings and your emotions got stirred up that this guy was going to be incapacitated from now. That's when you started all the jail talk. That's your emotions, though. And I understand. You're wound up by what happened. I understand. A lot of Spanish-sounding names. You go to that video on my channel. Jesus Christ. They're upset. They're very upset. But that's your emotions. If Colon had got a points decision or a late stoppage and was continuing his career, you wouldn't even be talking about Terrell Williams in the manner that you're talking about, that he should go to jail. And that's disingenuous. Yeah? If you wasn't screaming from your seat watching the TV while the fight was in progress, or from the crowd that Terrell Williams should go to jail while the fight was in progress, then just because it ended up bad for one of the fighters after doesn't justify what you're saying. If you didn't see an assault live while it was happening in real time, then come on, it's ridiculous. Now, James Butler, he got 4 months when he flattened out Richard Grant after Richard had outpointed him and went to shake his hand, and then he cocked back and slammed him with that right hand and knocked him out, blood spilling out of his mouth. He got 4 months for that. Now, let's look at the reactions, the different reactions to what James Butler did compared to Terrell Williams. Did you hear any of the commentary team while the fight was happening saying Terrell should never be allowed in the ring again? Did you hear that once? Nope. Did you hear anyone saying Terrell Williams, I should say, should be in jail for this disgraceful performance? Nope. Nope. Did they allude to the rabbit punch at the time? Yes, but not excessively. The commentary team wasn't going mad. Did you hear anyone screaming at Terrell Williams for his performance after the match in the commentary? No, they didn't. What happened when James Butler struck Richard Grant? Teddy Atlas went crazy. Joe Tessitore went crazy. The crowd went crazy. Were the crowd going crazy after the Terrell Williams-Pritchard Colon fight? No, they wasn't. All the outrage happened in the aftermath, when Pritchard Colon, a promising prospect, an Al Heyman prospect, who just a few months ago looked really good against Vivian Harris, and people were talking about the kid. The outrage came when he ended up in a hospital bed. The James Butler thing, he hit him way after the bell. The fight had finished. Assault. Could the referee have warned Porter? Yes. And unless Porter had the mentality of an Andrew Golota who couldn't stop himself no matter how much he was reprimanded by the referee, he would have to adjust his game plan. Win, lose or draw. But that didn't happen, so he continued to fight in the manner that he started. And why wouldn't he? Once again, similar to the Pritchard Colon incident, once again, if Berto didn't show out the way he showed out when Porter came in with his head, let's remember, Berto was showing out when he was getting punched as well. If he didn't show out like that, you guys wouldn't have reacted to Porter's head work the same. You wouldn't have done. I guarantee you wouldn't have done. You wouldn't have done. We saw Berto showing out, alluding to the fact that, look, I've been butted. So it became more pronounced to you because the victim was showing out. Don't be reactionary. Try not to be reactionary. That's all I'm saying. Try not to be reactionary. Try to be objective. Try to be clean of thought if you can. You know what I mean? Let's go back to the Berto Guerrero fight. What did he do in that fight when the elbows came in and the heads came in? He showed out. He showed out. Once again, bringing attention to the fact that, oh, look, he's fouling me. He's fouling me. And everyone was talking about Guerrero's fouling after. And he did fight a dirty fight. I'm not saying he didn't, but it made it more pronounced because Berto was showing out. And let's not forget, he had some severe swellings over both eyes. It wasn't even a joke. And I could say the same thing with Holyfield versus Tyson. Everybody kept saying, yeah, Evander kept butting him. Once again, look how Tyson reacted to the butts. He really brought attention to the fact, look, I'm being butted. He bit the guy. So it became more pronounced than any other fight in history that, look, I'm being fouled. Look, I'm being fouled. You know, when I think about it, I didn't hear the commentary team say, oh, Evander's fighting really dirty with his head while the fight was in progress. I don't remember that. I'll watch it again and see if he was as dirty as everyone was saying with his head. I want to watch it again, actually. And I've watched it a few times. Let me watch it again. The referees are instructed to allow the fight to be fought under the rules of whatever sanctioning body, commission, or board of control. But there has to be a reasonable allowance for dirty fighting, or you just wouldn't have a sport. A boxer could just hire a lawyer and say, oh, look, he headbutted me. He tried to assault me. All right, look, didn't you see his head touch my face? He tried to assault me. It's over. It's over. It is, listen, what you guys are saying is no different than when the BMA, the British Medical Association, say they want to take out headshots. and just make boxing a body contact sport. The way you guys are viewing it is just leading to lawsuits. That's all it can do. It's just lead to lawsuits. Well, okay, you can't touch with the head. Then the sport would actually just have to be modified until you can't recognize the sport no more. I'd love to see some of you referee fights. And when the auditorium or the arena turn into a rout, I'd like to see what you do. When you just throw everyone out. You throw all the Shawn Porters out and stop perfectly good fights. I'm throwing you out, Shawn, because you're not Floyd Mayweather. Cause riots. Riots. Like I said, bare knuckle boxing, London prize fighting rules, it was a little different. Some fights you could even wear spikes on your boots and shit like that. The old people who know old school will tell you about that. They will tell you that you could do a few wrestling moves and roughhouse tactics. There was allowances for that. Let's take a little study in the transition of London prize fighting rules and bare knuckle boxing to Queensberry. The early days of Queensberry. A lot of the fights consisted of a lot of mauling, wrestling, jostling for position. Occasionally they'd break free and some punches would break out. How do you think they was able to go 40 and 60 rounds? You think they just punched like Aaron Pryor through 100 rounds, 60 rounds, 80 rounds, or whatever mad distance the fights were scheduled for? Come on, man. No, they couldn't. There was a lot fewer punches being thrown. Then eventually the more skillful fighters developed and separated themselves from the pack. The Joe Ganses and the Jack Johnsons. You saw Barry Robinson showing film footage of Joe Gans doing the pull counter. And then you saw fighters developing the jab, Joe Gans. It's all a process. One of Joe Gans' opponents was Jack Blackburn, and he fought Gans a couple of times. Blackburn went on to coach Joe Louis, and he taught Joe the jab from what he learned from Blackburn and obviously other fighters as well, as the techniques developed. It's a process. You see old school footage of Sam Langford feinting on his opponent. These guys differentiated themselves from the pack. Watch Sam Langford against Fireman Flynn. It's online, it's on YouTube. It's a lot of holding. And then when they broke and traded, then you saw Langford's hand speed and his quality. And he eventually took the guy out. It's online. And if you watch how Jack Johnson perfected defense, what would Jack Johnson do? He'd catch punches out the air. He'd catch them with his glove out the air. Mike Tyson said to Harry Carpenter, Mike said if Jack was fighting today, he wouldn't be able to implement that defense because people now throw 4 to 6, 8 punch combinations. So catching a single punch out of the air like that would not be a viable option. Well spotted, Mike. Because, yes, they had their hands up, but most combatants weren't using their feet or no head movement or upper body like that. Only the special ones. You see, go up to Mike Tyson and tell him Shawn Porter is bad for boxing. Mike Tyson studied all the old tapes, more than I did. He had all the black and white tapes that Bill Caton and Jim Jacobs had in their fight collection, the largest fight collection in the world, I believe it was. He studied it, and he knew it. Mike was thorough on it. Mike was thorough, and he made the observation about Jack Johnson. I remember the kid watching it, and he was right. Tyson also said Jack Johnson was so dull he wouldn't make a penny in today's boxing game.
I have no great interest in copying this style because if he was in modern day, he wouldn't make a penny.
Why do you say that? Simply because he was too clever?
Very clever, very smart, but very uninteresting. Very interesting. You wouldn't have to take a laxative or something to fall asleep watching him fight.
So all these people saying that other modern day fighters dismissed the old timers, well, Mike did it as well to Jack Johnson. So when Jack Dempsey started to make his rise and his name in the game with his ferocious attack, when he took apart Willard, throwing volleys of punches on Willard, when Willard was down, he just stood at the side of him and crashed in a shot to the body. They said, oh, this is a bit violent. So some of the press, ain't this a bit too violent? Isn't he a bit extreme? This is not a sporting spectacle. But Jack didn't invent that style. There were other guys who did it. There was Owen Moran from Birmingham, England, who plied his trade in America. And he had that whirlwind style, and people thought it was unusual to see an Englishman so aggressive, because the English style was based on the old straight left and an upright stance. But Moran was coming with that whirlwind attack. What was more commonly the American style? It was more aggressive than the British style. Hooks and swarming. But Dempsey was the heavyweight champion on the heavyweight stage, bringing this new, brutal version of fighting to the world. If Porter was fighting back when Dempsey came out, it would have been a little different. The welters and the lower weight divisions weren't the force the heavyweight division was. But that style of fighting would have made him one of the most popular boxers. Forget anyone who had a better resume. That wouldn't even mean much. He'd be more popular than them. He fights like Marciano. He fights like Henry Armstrong. Sugar Ray Robinson was a way better technical boxer than Jake LaMotta. Way better. It was either him or Henry Armstrong, pound for pound, was made for. There's a discussion who it was made for, but that's not important right now. He was way technically better than Jake LaMotta, who was the Raging Bull based on. One of the biggest blockbuster films based on boxing ever. That's how popular the guy was. He fought like Shawn. That no holds barred. Rocky Graziano, one of the hardest middleweight punchers in the history of the sport. Listen, man, listen. He was crude as fuck. You know how popular he was? Paul Newman actually played him in a film. Tony Zell, Rocky Graziano was the first trilogy to really catch the public's attention and put boxing on the map. I'm not saying it was the first trilogy, because it wasn't, obviously. You could just look at the fighters' records and how extensive their records were. They would have to have fought each other repeatedly. But these guys were massive, massive, massive stars. And they had L's on their record, trust me. Ray Robinson really made his name in the St. Valentine's Massacre against Jake LaMotta. That's where he really made his name. Because they were bringing the heat to each other. Yeah? You're not going to make your name in no pretty boxing match. That's not going to happen, bro. For the most part. Guys like Ali Robinson, they needed the Foremans. They needed the Frazers. Robinson needed the LaMottas and the Grazianos and them guys. Just pretty boxing. Or if every boxer was pretty, it would be a whack sport. It'd be absolutely whack. It'd be terrible. I can go back and tell you classic fights, but it's still in my mind that Porter versus Thurman is one of the best fights I've ever seen. Period. And Porter, the guy you're critiquing so heavily, was in one of the best fights, that, not just me, that a lot of people have ever seen. But yet, you hate his style. Just bewildering. Dempsey, The Rock, Marciano, he hit you with forearms, head, everything, until he had you beaten down. I tell you what to watch. Let me give you the fight. Watch Rocky Marciano and watch the whole of it against Don Cockle, the British heavyweight. Watch that fight. Watch it. Please watch it. To me, it's all about watching the boxers make the best of what they have and be as effective as they can be with their limitations and their strengths. Yeah? The way I see it, you guys like snobbish nose at Porter, you're no different to the guys on HBO who don't want the safety first guys on. Well, let them have it then. If that's the case, let them have what they have, and you like what you like too. Fair's fair. Fair's fair. The only way you're going to get the sport, it's never going to suit everybody. Yeah, I understand you have your favorite stuff, but the only way you're going to get the sport that most of us get most of what we want equally is by letting everybody compete and everybody be respected for what they do. Whether they say they make you fall asleep, or it's too aggressive, or it's not boxing like Porter, too much headbutting or whatever. Let the shit flow. Let it rip. And the best man wins and the best man stands at the end. And if that's the pretty boxer, so be it. If it's Shawn Porter, so be it. Because I get the feeling that if you guys were in HBO, you'd do the same thing that they're doing. You just do it in reverse. No. We're not going to promote this guy to the top. Even though he may have the best resume, by forcing his way in and burrowing in and not milling around the ring. No, that's not right. It's not right either way. Either it's not right. Two wrongs don't make a right. Remember that. Imagine you guys coaching boxers, man. Because you're going to let your personal bias sway how you coach, and you can't do that. You have to be able to encompass everything that happens in a sport to be an effective coach. The way you guys are making it sound is like anybody could do what Shawn Porter does, and it's just not the case. Like, one comment on a hangout yesterday, Porter has to get you on the ropes to be effective. Well, how does he get you on the ropes? That takes strategy. The body punches, the volume he throws the body punches in, that all takes coordination. The head movement and upper body movement he used against Devin Alexander, I don't think people gave him credit for that. I was really shocked when he turned in that performance. Porter is a damn good fighter. Not the best welterweight, but he's damn good. He's damn good. Actually has a decent jab, which he displayed against Broner. And if there's no room for fighters like Porter, I don't want to fuck with the sport. I'll leave it, man. You guys could just have the ballet dancing thing and just go to fucking Swan Lake. Just leave it as Swan Lake, But I'm gonna end it like this, man. What are some of Muhammad Ali's more forgettable fights? Well, one was when he fought his sparring partner Jimmy Ellis, who was a boxer, trained by Angelo Dundee. He was the boxer. And the other one was with Jimmy Young. Now, that's not my opinion. I like all styles. But they're not the fights the historians talk about when they mention Ali. Yeah, when he fought Jimmy Young, he was trying to gesture for Jimmy to come forward, and Jimmy just looked at him like, well, I'm just as elusive as you. Why the fuck would I do that? And then, Ali had to try and work it out,